Good morning, children. How are you all? Hope you must be fine. Okay, so let us begin a topic. Now, the new chapter, the third chapter from the second book, that is Politics in India Since Independence. Fine, children? And the chapter we are going to begin today, that is Politics of Planned Development. See, development is a concept, development is a perception, and development is something what is extremely required, utmost important for all of us. But one thing regarding development, that their concept, their perception, their meaning used to differ. It is always comparative. Fine. So in this chapter, children, we would be discussing that the choices that were available before us, okay, related with development, or the kind of development that was uh, all set to take place, and for that the hard work of our leaders, common people, the think tank, and the experts were there. And the debates regarding the development means what had been the key choices and the debates about development. Fine. And remember, in this series of challenges, the three challenges in the very first chapter we had started. So, the challenges of nation building, establishment of democracy, these two we have discussed, and third challenge, in fact, children, we are going to discuss in terms of economic development, so that the betterment of everyone in our country, be that the people living in at the lowest level, at the lowest strata of our society, or someone who is the ruling class, who belongs to elite class, or who are aristocrat. Fine, it hardly matters, everybody's development. Okay, but see, always in our country, leaders also decided to take the path that was not very easy, in fact. We have discussed in case of the previous two challenges also, and here this challenge as well, that what all issues were involved regarding development, the different questions that were concerning, that were related with the development, we are going to discuss that. So I told the key choices and debates about development, the strategy adopted by our leaders in the first two decades just after independence. Okay, and why had they decided to adopt such a strategy? Main achievements and the limitations of this strategy. What had we achieved? What had we gained by this strategy, by having such a strategy? Why was this development strategy abundant in later years? Why were we forced? Why were our think tanks forced, in fact, to leave it, to get rid of it in the later years? And the protest of the villages from Orissa, the Orissa villages, against the POSCO plant, the proposed POSCO plant, and certainly the political contestation we are going to discuss. Fine, children? See, the demands of the people of any country, in case here the people of India, are demand for the several products. Here, for say steel, across the globe the demand of steel increased, and so was the case in our country also. So when there has been a global demand in the steel, in production of steel, in fact, the demand increased, we also wanted to get our resources the resources that were simply untapped in our country, we wanted to make it operational, we wanted to extract it and to make the most of it as well. So, as we know, Odisha has one of the largest reserves of untapped iron ore in our country. Okay, and any such minerals, in fact, children. Okay, whenever we are finding their stock, and that too it does have the tag of untapped, it matters a lot. So it has been seen as a very important investment destination. Okay, and particularly state government wanted, and the state government was very happy, in fact, and hoped that some cash inflow we will succeed in getting. Means the state government will have benefit as well, because the geographical location matters and some share is being given to the state government as well. So state government signed MOU, what we say, memorandum of understanding, okay, with all the steel makers, be that across the globe or be that inside the country. Fine, means with the domestic steel makers and international steel makers, MOU had been signed by government of Odisha. Okay, and the government always believed and believes that such step would bring in the required capital investment, and along with it the locals, they would get the employment opportunity, and thereafter the experts from the other part of the country as well. Okay, because whenever such a huge capital investment takes place, experts of different level, okay, of different category, in fact, we require. That's why some locals and some outsiders, means inside the country, they are also required and they will want to get employment opportunity. Okay, the location of this iron ore was something very interesting, in fact, children. Okay, this iron ore reserve were located in some of the most underdeveloped, and it was predominantly tribal districts of Odisha. Okay, remember several tribal districts we do have in our country, and in Odisha in particular, in some such tribal district it was located. Okay, here there has been one fear of tribal population. The tribal population, they always feared that they would be displaced and it would be loss of their livelihood. Okay, and tribals, remember, you have been discussing in the textbook of history also, they were against the interference by the side of any outsiders. Okay, they never liked the interference of outsiders. Okay, now in this scenario, what will happen, children? The another fear we had those days by the side of the environmentalists, by the side of the experts of the environment, they feel that mining and industry, first the mining activity should start and then the industrial activity would start. So these two, or their combo pack, you can say, their combination, are enough or more than enough to pollute the environment. Okay, apart from the fears of the tribal population that they are going to get displaced from their home, from their ancestral place, from their paternal place, and they are also going to lose their livelihood. Fine. So, and the pressure or the feeling of the central government that if industrial development won't take place or industry we won't be able to establish, and if it is not allowed, then it would certainly set a very bad example, a bad precedent, okay, across the globe. And government has been trying to attract more and more investment from outside, and when one company agreed to invest, this was the condition. This kind of demonstration started taking place, so certainly the investment in the country would get discouraged, and it would send a very wrong signal to world community and the potential investors. Fine. Now in this scenario, children, now you put your thinking caps on, and the questions I am putting before you, that all these different interests, the various interests that were involved in this case, can you identify? What are their key areas, the key points of the conflict? Do you succeed, or can you find any common points on which everyone can agree? Do you think their solution could be found in a way that is a win-win situation for all? It means that a solution which satisfies all the various interests, and simultaneously another question, the bigger question rather, that what kind of development does a state like Odisha require, need? Okay, and whose needs can be called Odisha's need, the need of Odisha? In this context, in fact, children, you would see that how did the circumstances keep unfolding? Okay, demonstrations, protests, all these things in fact started taking place. And what was it in fact, children? That as per the newspaper report, and in fact MOU had been signed. Okay, MOU had been signed, and the people directly they faced the threat of displacement, because POSCO India steel plant has been proposed in Jagat Singhpur district in Odisha. Okay, a tribal district in Odisha. As a result, the people who feared the threat of displacement, they staged a demonstration outside the company's office, as POSCO has been a Korean company. Okay, and simply they demanded that this MOU that had been signed between the company and the Odisha government last year, it must be cancelled. Okay, we don't accept, and government must not go ahead with this memorandum of understanding, MOU, that the government signed last year. Okay, so in this protest, and this has been a newspaper report, children, okay, of 2006. Remember, we are in 2020, in the month of July, and this was almost the same summer month, but a month before. Okay, June 2006. Fine, June 2006. What happened exactly? That's that in this, or during this demonstration, more than 100 men and women from Gram Panchayat at the local level, Gram Panchayat of Dhinkia, Nuagaon, and third one, apart from this Dhinkia and Nuagaon, Gadakujanga. Okay, Gadakujanga, these three Gram Panchayat, 100 men and women, they started demonstrating. Okay, and even they tried to enter the office premises of this Korean company. Okay, of this Korean company, they tried to enter into their offices, but police protection were there. Somehow the police restricted them, prevented them. Okay, but they kept raising their slogans. They chanted their slogans, in fact. Okay, and protesters simply told that company should not be allowed to set up its plant at the cost of the lives of the common people. We won't allow it to happen. Okay, that at our cost, at the cost of the common people, company must not be allowed to set up. Okay, and the company can't succeed in setting up their plant at our cost, at the cost of our lives and our livelihood. And basically this demonstration had been organized by one Sangathan named Rashtriya Yuba Sangathan. Okay, RYS, by this short name you can also keep it in your mind, but keep the name in mind, Rashtriya Yuba Sangathan, and along with it was Nav Nirman Samiti. So it was these two organizations, Rashtriya Yuva Sangathan and Nav Nirman Samiti, had staged this demonstration. Okay, children, any question you do have, you must ask. Okay, so all these questions what we saw, that the key points of conflict, any common points on which everyone can agree, can such issue be resolved in a way which satisfies everybody's need or various interest? What kind of development does Odisha need, and whose need can be called Odisha's need, in fact? Okay, now what actually had been the political contestation that we are going to see, that we are going to discuss. Okay, such questions used to be very difficult, and you can't answer such questions in a simple way, or simply you can say that such questions used to be so difficult, as one Hindi proverb is being used for such question, yaksh prashna. Okay, so decisions had been taken, and decisions of this kind, always children, involve so many aspects. What aspects in fact had been involved in this decision? Now you see, that we are going to discuss. It involved weighing the interests of one social group against another. That if the interest of one social group is being taken care, what about the interest of another social group? Okay, interests of present generation, weighing the interests of the present generation against the future generation. Whose interest could be preferred, in fact? Whose interests matters, in fact? Fine? Present generation or future generation? Albeit we have been discussing that in a democracy, major decisions are always being taken by the common people. Means our representative used to take the decision on behalf of us, but whenever we do have any concern, we feel that this decision is not a good or genuine decision as taken by our leaders, our representatives, we raise our concern, we tell the representative that in this way it must be rectified. Okay, so important, it was very important to take advice from experts in such a decision, in fact. Okay, expert advice must be taken, and the experts on mining, experts from the field of environment, and experts from the field of economy. So these three experts, mining experts, environmental expert, and the economic expert, they must be consulted beforehand. Fine. And final decision, as we know, in every democracy used to be a political decision, but this must be taken by people's representative. Okay, because they are our representative, they know the pulse of the people and they are answerable to the people. They used to come amongst the people. That's why the people's representative, they must be consulted. In fact, they say matters. Okay, and after independence of our country, this was, or not one decision like this was supposed to be taken. Country had to make a series of major decisions like this. Okay, and each of these decisions could not be made independent of the other such decision. If you will say that can't we keep it separate, can't we separate it one from another, it is not so easy always. It was a difficult to separate it, to segregate it in fact. Okay, so each of these decisions could not be made independent of other such decisions, and all these decisions were bound together by a shared vision or model of economic development. So a shared vision and a model of economic development, all these decisions were bound together. Fine, children? And another thing, that almost everyone agreed that development of India should mean both economic growth and social and economic justice. It cannot be, it must not be only economic growth. Okay, along with it, it needs to be social and economic justice as well. Without social and economic justice, economic growth can never be sufficient in a democratic country like India. Okay, and such matters, such important matters, in fact, cannot be left only to businessmen, industrialists, and framers, not only of the constitution, framers of the constitution, they had written everything in black and white. Okay, but now it was the responsibility of the executive, and the ultimate decision used to be of the legislature, political decision. That's why such an important decision, they all were agreed that cannot be left to businessmen, industrialists, and farmers only. What that? So what was the way out here? Government should play a key role in this. What had been their expectation? That here the government intervention is at most required. Okay, always or everything or such important decision cannot be left to farmers and businessmen and industrialists. Here was disagreement as well. Okay, there was disagreement on the kind of role played by the government. Government's role should be there, but what kind of role government must play, there was a disagreement on it. Fine, differences of opinion persisted there. On the kind of role that the government must play in ensuring growth with justice. Fine. That disagreement was there, that what kind of role the government must play, where growth must be ensured along with justice. So the question that were raised, in fact, was it necessary to have a centralized institution to plan for the entire country? Can't we do without it? What was the need of a centralized institution? And such institution, is it really required to plan for the entire country? Second concern, that should the government itself run some key industries and businesses? Some key industries and business should the government itself run? how much importance was to be attached to the needs of justice if it differed from the requirements of economic growth. Here it was a $1 million question, children. What Yaksh Prasna told, this is the $1 billion question, in fact, that how much importance was to be attached to the needs of justice if it differed from the requirements of economic justice. Okay. In this scenario, children, means justice and the growth, there must be the match. This, these both must go parallel to each other, in fact. Okay, so all these questions involved contestation. This political contestation, the topic is, and we had been discussing that all these questions involve contestation, which has continued ever since. It was not the case that suddenly it came into existence. It continued ever since, and each of the decision had political consequence undoubtedly, children. Okay, and most of these issues involved political judgment, and whenever there is a political judgment, it requires consultation among political parties also. And last but not the least, the approval of the public, the approval of the common people is at most required. Okay, hence it is at most required for us, and we need to study the process of development as a part of the history of politics in India. This process of development must be discussed, must be understood by us as a part of political history. Means Indian political history. So that's why we say as a part of the history of politics in India. Fine, children. Any question you do have, you must ask whether the economic growth and economic justice. Fine. What kind of political contestations had been there? What was its way out? Why was it so? Why did the people oppose the proposed POSCO plant in Jagat Singhpur district, despite the fact that capital investment was coming from outside, and every country used to take every possible step to attract investors from outside, and investors here who were coming, for them the protest took place. Who were the organization who protested? What had been their concern? What fears were of the tribal people? These all questions we just discussed. Anything else you do have in your mind, you must ask. If not today, tomorrow. Okay. Till then, prepare the topic. Take care of your health. Stay safe. Stay indoor. Okay. Have a good